This is for my fellow sensitives who are really feeling it right now. I came to be with water this morning because I woke up feeling just like funky and off and in like an emotional place that I haven't, like a low emotional place that I haven't felt in months. And I was tempted for a hot second to revert to my old coping mechanisms of trying to like avoid or distract or just like throw comfort at the feeling. But from past experience, I know that does not actually help me move through the feeling. And so I've been reflecting on why and like what's up and what I need. And this is something that I want to share because I feel like if I'm feeling it, I think a lot of us are feeling it. I think a lot of us have been feeling it. When we are sensitive, we pick up on so much. We pick up on so much. We pick up on our own inner experience, what's happening in our own life. We pick up on what's happening in the outer worlds around us. And there's just a lot right now. There's a lot of heaviness right now. And there's a lot of really valid reasons to feel heavy. There's a genocide that we're watching play out on a national level. There was recently a murder of a young trans kid that is happening simultaneously as these ongoing national debates about the validity of queer identities and trans people in general. And it's heartbreaking to watch people suffer for something as simple as being who they are and living where they live. And so I can feel that emotion within me pretty easily when I tap into it. And that's part of being sensitive, is that we can, and all of us are sensitive to a certain extent, but some of us really feel it. We can really feel inside of our own bodies what this pain and suffering is doing to the human population in general, what other people are experiencing. On top of that, we have our own lives. We have our own pain points. We have our own trauma histories. We have our own painful experiences and past stories we've been taught about ourselves and perspectives and wounds that we've just, like when we grow up with negative beliefs reflected back to us about who we are, it shifts our neurobiology. We end up, or at least I ended up, repeating that narrative and repeating that story to myself over and over and over again, starting as a child, continuing through adolescence, into early adulthood. So there's a lot of momentum behind those feelings. And this is what triggers are. It's when one of those pain points get touched within us, and then that wound becomes active again because it never really healed to begin with. Because we're not taught how to heal. We're not taught what to do with those pain points and those trauma narratives. We are taught to avoid, distract, dissociate. But that doesn't get us anywhere because trauma lives in the body. Like trauma stays in our body. Pain, suffering, heartbreak, heartache, they stay in our body. And if we ignore them and try to like use our brains to just like get busy and do other things and focus on other things and try not to think about it, we just end up like increasing that disconnect between what we really feel and who we're being in the world. So it's hard. Like it's not easy to feel, and yet we have to feel. We can't desensitize ourselves. Desensitization is only going to further amplify the energies that are hurting us in the first place. As I'm sitting here, I'm reminded of a lyric in a beautiful song by a beautiful chorus. I can't remember the song title right now, but I'll put it in text here. But the lyric goes, what is it? Be like water, my friend, you'll find a way around or through it. Be like water, my friend, you'll find a way around or through it. When nothing within us stays rigid, we decide the shape we take and the waves we give. And that's why I wanted to come to water, because water has lessons to teach us about what to do with these difficult emotions and how not to get stuck. When we try not to feel, we end up restricting that flow. We end up holding ourselves with control. We end up holding ourselves with rigidity. If we're staying busy all the time and not giving ourselves the space to feel the emotions that are within our body, we become very rigid. We become very triggerable. We become very like, things have to be this specific way in order for me to feel safe, in order for me to feel okay. And that's just not the reality that we live in. We can't control our outer conditions like that to protect ourselves from feeling. Water flows around and through. Water flows through earth. Water flows around obstacles. Water finds a way to fit any shape that it's held within. And that, to me, is like the definition of what it means to be resilient, is to be able to stay who we are, to stay in our fullness. Like, water doesn't change. I could put water in a cup. I could look at the water behind me. It doesn't change. It's still itself. It's just in these different containers. It's just taking a different shape at the moment. And that is what we have to do to survive in this society and this system, is be able to fit all these different environmental contexts, to be able to be pure enough and whole enough in who we are. Not that we're not going to have emotions, not that we're not going to be triggerable. That's always going to happen. We're human, we feel that way. And as sensitive people, we really feel that way. But how can we stay ourselves and not become the other object and not become so rigid we're like an ice cube and we can't flow and we can't process what's going on inside of us? So I think it's really important that we walk that balance of not like succumbing to the depression or the specific shape that the emotions might temporarily want us to take, which for me is like almost immobile. Like, I want to just like crawl into a shell and not have to deal with anything around me. And of course, like, that's not the realistic way things are gonna work. Like, how do we allow our emotions to be our emotions? How do we allow the water of our emotions to be like water and to be able to take a particular shape temporarily? Maybe I need to put this in a glass so that I can like go to work or care for my children or like do these other responsibilities that I need to do. But then how can I come back and allow the water to flow, allow that movement to continue? So it's important for us to allow space and to offer containers for that emotional water to be able to flow in the way it is called to flow. It is important for us to not turn our emotional sensor off. It is important for us to not desensitize ourselves and to give ourselves those spaces to feel the magnitude of what's happening right now, to feel the pain, to feel the sorrow, to feel the grief of loss. And the challenge here is, can we stay grounded while we feel? Can we allow a waterfall without allowing a flood or a hurricane? Can we breathe knowing that we are safe right now where we're at? Can we be somewhere that helps us feel safe and allow the expression of emotion to come through that way? I feel like in this culture, tears have become, I don't even know if I want to say become, because I remember looking back and feeling like really deep shame when I would get emotional in class in like high school, college. I mean, it's part of colonialism, the suppression of emotions. It's part of like the heretic attack on women and hysteria being a thing. There's been like a demonization in this culture of emotions and of being able to feel our emotions. So I feel like tears have become something that people may try to avoid, or we like suffocate when the tears want to come and we block it, we don't allow it. And I want to really encourage us to not restrict that flow. Tears are a major way that we can allow water, the literal water of emotion, to flow through our systems. And it's not as though, you know, we cry and the world's problems are solved, but it allows us to stay in touch with our humanity. It allows us to stay in touch with our bodies. It allows us to stay in touch with our soul. And maybe it's anger, maybe it's a different emotion that we need to be able to express. What are ways that we can provide a gentle container for the flowing, for the expression of these emotions? Hitting a pillow, screaming, pushing against the wall, allowing ourselves to grunt, like getting really in touch with the human experience. So much of colonialism has taken us apart, taken us away from what it means to be truly human. And to be truly human is to feel and to express and to feel our emotions. If you look at an animal that gets angry or injured or is afraid, like that animal's body is demonstrating, it's showing its response. The animal's not restricting its emotions. The animal's growling, the animal's hissing, the animal's yowling, the animal's barking. The animal's body is showing the signs. The animal's letting its body do what its body wants to do to release the emotions that are coming up. And if we can tune ourselves a little bit more back in that direction, that's a way that we can allow these emotions to flow. So I just want to provide some love and some camaraderie and some emotional support to all of you who are feeling really deeply right now and who are feeling lost in some of these experiences of injustice and pain and suffering. I want you to not minimize that experience. I want you to not feel as though you have to like suck it up and be like business as usual and go about your days as usual. Nothing about the way that we're living is usual. Nothing about the reality around us is normal. None of this is okay. And acknowledging it, doesn't immediately change it, but it gives ourselves permission to be where we are and be who we are. By acknowledging that there's this cognitive dissonance in the way the world and humanity is operating right now, we give ourselves permission and we give ourselves that space to feel. I think I'd like for us to just like breathe together for a few minutes and maybe let yourself go in your body and feel what it is that you're feeling in this moment, what it is that these words have sparked in you, what emotion lives within your body that is wanting perhaps your attention right now. And like, let's just breathe and like be together with that. And I'll be here with you for this moment of feeling. So let's just take some slow, deep breaths and go inside of our bodies. You can put your hands on your heart too if that feels good. Maybe try breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, letting yourself audibly hear your breath. If tears are wanting to come, to let them come. It's okay. And I want you to know and feel in your body that you're not alone in this. You're not alone in these emotions. You're not alone in this experience. And there's a lot of darkness in life, and there's a lot of light in life. In these times we're in right now, there's a lot of darkness. There's also a lot of light. And we can feel the darkness without losing sight of the light. We can let ourselves dip into the waves and the shapes of our emotions without getting lost in them. Feeling is healing. Emotions are temporary. Emotions are messengers. Emotions have things they want us to understand and look at, and there are parts of ourselves that need care and comfort and need to be able to be expressed. It's just like having a child, and if your toddler is crying, you don't ignore that toddler. You don't, try and shove that toddler away. You go to your child. You ask what's wrong. You sit with them. Maybe you feel what they feel with them. You help them regulate. This is what we need from ourselves, too. This is the love and care that we need from ourselves, too. You can try putting a hand on your belly and a hand on your heart. There's a lot of ways to help ourselves feel held while we feel. There's a lot of ways that we can show up for the parts of ourselves that don't understand what's happening, that don't understand why it's happening. There's a lot of ways we can show up for those parts and just provide compassion and care. Just like if you had a toddler who came to you and was telling you about their pain and you can't fix it, you can't make the pain go away, but you can be with them. And we can be with ourselves. And we can be with one another. And I want us to remember that the micro is the macro and the macro is the micro, and what's inside of us is a reflection of what's outside of us. What's outside of us is a reflection of what's inside of us. And it does make a difference. It does make a difference when we let ourselves feel. It does make a difference. It is us planting the seeds of a healthier humanity. It is us planting the seeds of a humanity that allows itself to feel, instead of a humanity that is so disconnected from empathy and from compassion and from sensitivity that it allows horrific acts like this to exist, that it allows hatred to exist, so much so that things like this happen. Allowing ourselves to be with our feelings and caring for ourselves through those feelings, just like we would a child, is a way that we are making the world a better place. It's a way that changes the way that we engage with everyone around us. It's a way that changes the ways that we raise our children, which in turn changes the way that our children are gonna rule this world. Don't underestimate the power of planting seeds. Don't underestimate the power of what it means to be human. Because allowing ourselves to be human and supporting ourselves and becoming more and more human under this colonial condition that removes it from us, this is what is going to put the human back in humanity. This is what is going to allow us to culture shift the world around us. It has to include this. It has to include feeling our feelings. If we don't feel our feelings, we end up projecting the same bullshit again and again and again from generation to generation to generation, just like we've been doing in this country for hundreds of years. And it can stop with us. It can stop with this generation. I really believe that. And I feel like I see it happening already. So my fellow sensitives, can we recognize our sensitivity as a gift, even in times like this? Can we recognize our sensitivity as a powerful tool that is counterbalancing culture? Can we harness our sensitivity as a tool in support of co-creating the reality that we want to live in, and one that does not commit genocide, and one that does not kill young trans kids, and one that does not discriminate or harm other people because of who they are? At a core human level, like, we don't want that. We don't want to be doing this to each other. And that's why it hurts so bad. That's why there's such cognitive dissonance. And that's also why it's so important to allow ourselves to feel. to not desensitize, to not dissociate, to do what you need to shape your emotion in the way that it has to be shaped so you can survive in a capitalistic system, but to give yourself space for that water to flow, to give yourself containers that allow for the expression of your emotions and what is coming up in your body. And to, again, just not underestimate that impact. Whew. I think let's end with a beautiful nature view. I'll let you see this full scene behind me. And I'm sending you a big energetic hug to know that you're not alone. We're in this together. Till next time.